All right, guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties we just had. Thank you very much, Randy Wags, for alerting me that the sound was messed up. I have fixed the issue. It was a quirk with OBS, but it is now corrected. So please welcome my co-host here, Matt DeGeorge, aka Dynasty DeGeorge, aka Dynasty, aka my Tecmo Bay.
Big.
Matt, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Hopefully everybody could hear me now and I'm not just a ghost sitting on the side.
No, they can hear you. I can see the volume meter, so
Alright.
I was just basically a noob here, and what are we gonna do?
I
Um,
don't know anything about that stuff, so props to you.
so we are going to have Sean, who is most widely known as Stalltalk, on. He is at work. He is going to get on for I think 5 or 10 minutes to talk about to recap a little bit of his Super Bowl season 43 win versus Dolo, and so we'll get him on. That'd be nice to do that. I wish we could spend more time with him, but unfortunately, he's at work, and we just had a hard time getting him because his schedule is tough to work around. So that's
Mhm.
I think going to be in about 12 minutes at 8 o'clock Eastern. So Matt and I are going to kind of talk about the first half of the HSTL season. We're actually technically over halfway through if you want to go by ROM drops. You can see the big 0 games played next to the Buffalo Bills. I apologize, as I kind of said on Discord, about 2 days after the ROM drop, I was out of town for about 5 to 6 in a bachelor party in Nashville. And then since I came back, it's just been playing catch up. So I'm definitely going to be catching up on my games this week. And for anyone listening, I will be on vacation visiting my mom in Florida next week. So I should be able to play during some off hours. And I don't have the ridiculous work schedule next week that I usually have. And then I go to Madison for Florida. So, uh, Matt, what do you think about the fact that we drop 4 rounds a week now in HSTL?
Yeah, well, like I said to you earlier when nobody was able to hear me. High speed Tecmo used to be what from dial up to the Ethernet cable back in the day, right? Well, now it's high speed as far as ROM drops. I like it. I always liked fast leagues. I always hated leagues that took a year. It was just always too long, and that was one of the reasons why I kind of lost interest in online Tecmo. Just because one of the leagues, I forget what league I was last in, but it literally took a year to complete. It wasn't HSTL, but I like it. I think it's good. I think it's good because a lot of people, I think that's the reason why they join 3 or 4 leagues because they have that itch and they need to fill it. So, good for you, man. I mean, even and yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody appreciates your hard work and the fact that you're up to date with everything and the fact that you try job. So
Sorry about that, buddy. I basically sucked at life there, and I put you on my phone instead of on the recording thing. So, but I think you were basically just complimenting me, which nobody cares about anyway. So, I do I do appreciate the kind words though, and
you're
that's great.
welcome.
So, why don't we go through and kind of see how our predictions are laid out? I'll be honest with you, our prediction pod or whatever you want to call it show was way too long, and I don't remember anything I said. So instead of like I think I kind of know what I said, but I'm not positive. So I do know who we picked for playoffs and what have you. So the best part about this is we don't have to worry about uh, talking about my team too much since I haven't played a game. So I'm not going to hijack the pod for once or show, whatever you want to call it. And why don't we just go through and start with the AFC East and see what the surprises are, what we thought would happen, and so on and so forth. What do you think?
Sounds excellent to me. Yeah, I you, I think we all across the board, right? We're on Diaz winning the division. He's
That
sitting.
that's actually not true. Kevin picked me to win the division and
Oh
Diaz
yeah,
to
that
be
is
a
right.
wild
That
card,
is right.
which could still happen because I haven't played a game. But it looks like, for me,
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
especially if they haven't played a game yet. What's the surprise for me, honestly, in this division is Big Hawk. I know that it's only 4 games, but And I know, only 3 games in, Thule is only, he's 3-3, so he could turn it around too. It's just, to see Hawks start so strong. I expected full well Diaz to have a strong season. I think that he had one of the best drafts in the league. I think his draft worked out perfectly. He even commented to me that he loved his draft. I'm actually surprised his point differential is so low.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's almost 10 points a game when you think about it, but I figured he'd be blowing people out, to be honest. I can't believe he's even lost a game. But
Mm-hmm.
it looks like Big Red is having a tough go of it to start the season. Not sure if we kind of called that or not. I know he just has some tough competition in this division, and so he wanted to follow Diaz around. We gave him that wish, and I don't know if they've played yet. I suppose we could go look, but I figure I just want to leave the page on here for the viewers that
Mm-hmm.
we
I mean,
are.
I could take a look at it. I could take a look.
Yeah, go
For
take a
mine.
look and see if Diaz is giving him his medicine. But this
All right.
division, it's still real early, simply because there's only less than half the games have been played, and I haven't played any. But it's the cream is trying to rise to the top, and I definitely think that of the start, Hawk is definitely my surprise so far, but it's still early.
Mm.
So what do you think?
Yeah, I just went to the schedule. Big Red, and that's how you pronounce it, right? It's Big Red. I always thought it was like Jeb or something. So what's funny is on the podcast initially, I was like, "Who's Big Red?" I don't think I ever played that guy. I actually have played him. So apologies for that. I just didn't know how to pronounce the name. But Diaz and Big Red have played. Diaz won that game 6-3. That was the final score. So they have played, and that's pretty low score. So um, I don't know. I know that you said Big Red followed Diaz around. Do they know each other in some capacity? Usually, when you see games like that, it's because you play somebody so often or so much. But back to your question, Big Hawk's definitely a surprise. I would say he's a surprise, but not a surprise. I mean, when you have Bo Jackson, anything's possible. I just think that nobody had the confidence to pick because the owners in his division are pretty good. Diaz is at the top right now. Of course, I know you have no games played, but that's no surprise to me. But in the AFC East, yeah, to see Hawk 3-1 right behind Diaz, that's a big surprise. Thule at 500, but Thule, even though he's 3-3 right now, he could easily turn his season around and he can end up like 10-6 or something like that. It's just the type of player he is. He could catch fire pretty quickly, but your division's definitely interesting. Big Hawks, one of the biggest surprises actually, I should say, in the whole league. But yeah, I mean, Big Hawk is it for me, and Diaz is the guy I kind of picked to win the division anyway. So no surprise there with Diaz. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see when you get some games in though, to see if you can turn around and kind of put a little bit of a dent in the mix. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Here's hoping, and no guarantees, but so we are
Mm-hmm.
going to, since this is the way the website is set up, that we can see the AFC East and the NFC East instead of going through the full AFC and then the full NFC. We might as well just go through the NFC East because that's what the viewers can see on their screen.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we go over to the NFC East now? Looking at this, no shocker that Bone is 0-6. I think we all kind of pegged that was going to happen. When you don't do your own draft and you don't really care about the league, you're not going to play well. So I don't really think we need to spend more time on that. I guess the better guess is how much longer he sticks around, but I'm not going to throw any more stones at that guy. So I think my big surprise in this division, quite honestly, is Jesus. I know once again 4 losses can turn into be a 12-4 record if he runs the table, so it's still kind of early, But seeing Dolo and Jesus both with 4 losses already in this division, especially because Dolo kind of built his team the way he likes, is kind of surprising to me. I definitely think Zur or Zier. I think it's Zur. I'm calling him Zur. That's what I call him. I know we said he had a great draft. We loved his team on our preview for the season. but that still requires execution. His point differential is fantastic. He's almost beating people by 10 points a game. I think it's just over 9 points a game right now. So I mean, if you look at the differentials, either he had a couple blowout wins, which we can go into, or not. Maybe I'll just do on the side here. I think that his differential might even make him a stronger 6-3 than Turbo is at 6-2 with just a plus 11. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting to see Zur play so well. I mean, he's kind of proven it now that he is the real deal. He had a very strong season in the AFC West last season with one of the best Tecmo players there is in Gats. So I think he's definitely doing his thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, I picked Zier to win a division. It was Zier to win the division for me, Distolo to make it in as a wild card. But the biggest surprise to me, in the league is actually Oklahoma Tecmo, whatever you want to call them, at 6-2 right now. Pretty good. The differential is kind of close, which means he's probably squeaking out a lot of games unless he had a major blowout game and then he got blown up. I haven't really checked the schedule, but the biggest surprise right now is Tecmo. If he could hold on to that and if he could win that division, I mean he's in a pretty tough division too because he plays Zier twice, Dolo twice, Jesus twice. So if he's able to come away with a division win, that's a huge step for him, especially with his new tapping skills. He's on the up and up right now. I still like Zier to win a division. I don't know why. I just like the team that Zier has. I just think that he will win the division ultimately. I think that he's honestly the more skilled player, I would say. So I still like him to win. Dolo's like Lucky Tool in the AFC East. Right now he's 5-4, but all it takes is another week, and he can end the season 11-5. You know what I mean? So it's still for grabs. Jesus at 2-4. Not sure what happened there. He's usually in the mix at least to be competitive.
What I'm going to do is, I'm actually sorry to interrupt you. I'm just going to go and see if we can click in here and not mess up the view. Change the page here a little bit. Yeah, we can do this. I'm going to go in and actually, I'm now in Jesus' team, seeing what his games look like. It looks like Jesus lost 14-10 to Dolo, and we can kind of do this going forward. He beat Turbo 30-28. That must have been a great game. But then he lost to Tundrietti 21-7 and lost to Zur 28-3. He beat Bone 21-7 and then lost to Turbo 16-10. So it looks like let's see. We might as well just take a look at the team leaderboard and see if he has the curse of Steve Young going on here. And oh yeah, Steve Young has a QB rating through his season so far of 73.1. That's wretched. It looks like the curse of Steve Young is alive and well. I think Prime might be the only person that loves playing with Steve Young. I will say, though, very strong run game with Steve for Jesus. I think he's averaging about just under 7 yards a carry with him. He's actually averaging a higher average yard per carry with Steve Young than he is Calvin Bryant. So for what it's worth, nice job there, Jesus, on what you're doing there. But I think that it could be a tough season with Steve for you. But why don't we go back through here and just see what's going on with the rest of these records here. And we can even go back and touch in the AFC East if you want later. I'm kind of curious to see if Zur's got some blowout games. I mean, obviously beating Jesus 28-3. It looks like Zur is he lost the War Machine 15-7. That's an interesting score. We could probably go in and look at the box and see what happened in that game, which I'm doing now. Looks like he just had one fumble more than War, and that's really what happened.
We gotta look at this too. I'm looking at his schedule as well. He beat the Giants in the division 34-7. He beat Philadelphia in the division 21-0. He beat Dallas in the division 20-3.
So there's his differential. That's really interesting that he destroyed Dolo like that. I mean, it must have been rough game. I'm kind of going to that box and just kind of see what happened here. He held Dolo, of all people, to 136 yards total.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, Marcus Allen and bad, but it just looks like, he got 2 fumbles and he got an interception. So 3 and a 4th down stop. So basically 4 turnovers versus Dolo. That's definitely going to do it for you. So,
I mean, the difference maker right now from seeing the webpage here is Dave Wademer's on his team, and he's leading the league in picks with 8.
no, yeah.
So,
So
he's playing good defense.
that's
That's what's that saying to me.
sure, absolutely. You might as well go in and look at Turbo's boxes here and see what's going on. Ooh, tough beat out Sean, 24 to 21, and then we already talked about his loss to Dallas. Then he beat Tundra at Pittsburgh. Got shut out by Washington, and then he's got wins the rest of the way down. Kind of interesting. I'm kind of curious what happened in his game versus Washington and why he didn't score at all. I wonder if Bobby Humphrey was injured. No, Bobby Humphrey and good. That's really interesting to me. Bobby Humphrey and good. Turbo has the tapping advantage versus Zur in only 12 carries for 63 yards. Oh, Andre Ware threw 4 interceptions, so that'll do it.
No, there you have it.
Plus a 4th down stop. I mean, that'll do it. It looks like Waymer had 2 picks there, so it just looks like Waymer's feasting on the low PC QBs and having a great season. It's a good pick by Zur. It worked out. If I was smart, I would have done the same thing instead of taking Hendricks because I have so many low PC QBs in my division, but I'm an idiot, so that's why it didn't work out for me. So, but I think this division, like we said, Turbo's a surprise for me. Zur, we kind of knew. Dolo's also a surprise for how what his record is, but like you said, he could turn it on at any point and just turn it around. And Jesus is the big surprise for me. I thought he would fare a little bit better. Anything else you want to add on the NFC East?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I was going through the teams too. Oklahoma, Andre Ware, Distolo, Eric Wilhelm. You know what I mean? And you have 69 INT Dave Waymer patrolling. So you're pretty much able to cover the whole field and not really have to worry about anything. If you're even in the vicinity, you're probably going to get a pick. So I think that's honestly the pick where Zier kind of propelled his defense because there are a lot of low pass control quarterbacks. I mean, even Steve Young. I mean, what's he, 44 pass control or something like that?
Yeah, plus he's that higher passing speed of 56 that kind of, makes you, it kind of just, I think it makes it easier to pick. Like, I had Steve Young one season. Granted, I probably forced the ball a little bit too much. Maybe went up against some good DBs, but I had a wretched season with Steve Young and vowed I would never take him again. I don't know why, but he was he was a problem for me. So, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Do you want to go? Go ahead.
No, I said that's pretty much it with the East.
Do you want to go through any boxes and stuff in the AFC East, or you just want to move on?
No, let's just move on. I mean, because we'll get to that. I would imagine at the end. I just don't want it to take as much time.
Sure,
as it did before.
Absolutely. So we're down to the AFC Central, and I'll say, I'm kind of, you called it. You thought that Sean Stalltalk might not be as motivated, potentially because of if he won the Super Bowl, which he did, but he is 5-1, doing his thing, doing his normal thing, and the rest of the division is just that playing at 500. Tundra Yeti playing at 500 with the strength of the people in this division is probably the big surprise for me. Granted, I know he's got a win or two outside the division, but I think he beat, as you and I were talking before this, he beat Tadeos, but we can talk about that later. But I would say Tundra Yeti is probably my big surprise in this division. Tecmo Bowl at 2-2. It's still early. It's only 4 games. He could easily, turn that into a much better record. And his track record the past couple of seasons has kind of done his thing. So I think that Tundra Yeti is probably my surprise here. But other than that, it's a little early. It's not enough games played, and it doesn't really seem like it might be a dogfight there. Besides Stalltalk. What do you think?
Yeah, I was actually wrong because I thought Sean might have fell off because the team didn't fit him. So 5-1 right now. He's doing well. He's on a roll though. You know what I mean, with his Thunderdome win, the HSTL win, and he's 5-1 in the division. So he's looking solid again. Yeah, Tundretti, 4-4. As a surprise, I mean, he did rattle off a couple wins that were very quality wins. Tecmo Bowl 2-2. I mean, that's a small sample size. You can't really call it, and Darth Rockman 2-2 can't really call it. So until Tecmo Bowl and Darth Rockman get another 2 games in, I would say, then you can kind of start to see the picture here. But if they're all in a dogfight, say Tundretti beats Tecmo Bowl beats Darth Rockman, you know what I mean? Like, and they all split. It's going to be interesting because then the deciding factor will really be who Sean beats and who he doesn't. So, other than that, I still think Tecmo Bowl will end up putting it together and finishing at least in a wild card spot. But yeah, this division is interesting right now just because you have so many teams at 500, regardless if they're 2-2 or 4-4. And you don't know who these teams play either down the stretch. So right now, Sean's looking pretty good, but I still think Tecmo Bowl will put it together and make a run at least at the division and the wild card. So what do you think?
Sure. Key point too. Sorry to go backtrack here, but I was watching the chat for this our episode here, and Turbo did point out, which we probably overlooked because we didn't look hard enough, that all of Zer's drone DBs have 56 interception or higher. So I think
Okay,
so. I mean, if we did overlook that. I mean, obviously it was a lot to remember. So good. Thanks for pointing that out, buddy. And another reason why Zer is having a great season. So especially with crappy PC QBs. I agree with you in the AFC Central. I think it's a little too early to talk about it. I think that I think if Tecmo Bowl or Rockman had 6 to 8 games in, it'd be a lot easier to call it. I find it hard to believe that Sean Stalltalk would, kind of let go. So I like you suggested, I think it probably is going to be a dogfight between Tecmo Bowl and Stalltalk at the top. I think Tundra might, fall back a little bit, and Rockman will probably finish in the 500 range. I mean, that's my guess, is that it's Tecmo Bowl and Stalltalk battling for the division lead, Tundra Yeti in the basement, and Rockman in the around 500 like he has been. But I give Tundra Yeti a lot of credit. He's got some quality wins. We might as well go through and take a look at who his quality wins are already. And looks like he's got a win versus Jesus. Oh, how about this? He's got a win versus Jesus, a win versus Dolo, and a win over Tadeos. So I mean, those are.
And he lost to Tecmo Bowl too. He only lost 14-10, so that was close too.
Yeah, those are some. No, he lost 14-10 to Turbo. He lost 28.
Oh, sorry, Turbo.
Yeah, he lost.
Too many bows in this league.
And he took Rockman, or Rockman took him to overtime as well. I remember watching people comment about that game on Discord and how it was a lot of Marino magic there in that game for Rockman. So I mean, he could have easily won that game. So maybe I could be wrong. Tundra could easily maybe be 6-2 right now. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it turns out here.
Yep.
But so going to the NFC Central, to be honest, I'm kind of shocked that it's so that it's still like so dogfightish. Like I really expected, somebody to kind of like run away with this, and casual. We don't great guy. Met him at Tundra Bowl. Real good dude. And he's habitually been picking at the top of the draft and just can't put it together. So he's kind of where we expected him. Eifer was the wild card in all this. Longtime player before. Everyone's had said he was really good back in the day, and that it was going to be a crapshoot on what happened and how he got his bearing straight. Clearly, right now, he's having trouble putting it together. So that kind of makes this division a 3-way race between Rico, War Machine, and Odell. I thought that Rico's team was not conducive to him competing for this division, as we talked about in our preview. But it looks like he's right up there with the other guys. So we obviously all watched the kickoff game between War Machine and Prime, and War Machine had a rough go of it in that game. But I think that this game is definitely or this division right now seems to be a little bit of a dogfight. What do you think?
Yeah, I still think Odell's going to win the division, but War Machine and Rico are really neck to neck right now. I think Eifer and Casual, right now, just based on the record 1-4-1 and 0-4, I think you could pretty much say that they're close to being done unless a miracle gets pulled out. But it's going to be interesting with Rico and War Machine because they're so close, and Rico does grind a lot of games out. So I wouldn't count him out, just yet. I know a lot of people are high on War Machine. I like War Machine. But between those two, and you got the Green Bay Chicago rivalry, which is awesome in real life, but it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to come down to the wire with those two teams. I think Odell will be fine. He has Marino, he's 4-2, or not Marino. He has Moon, he's 4-2. I think he'll pull it out. But War Machine and Rico, I think it's going to come down to the last couple weeks of the season between the two. What are your thoughts on those two with War Machine and Rico toward the end of the season, and who will pull it out?
Well, it's kind of funny you asked that because I have it pulled up, and so Odell has played both his games versus Rico already. He beat Rico 28-14, but then lost to Rico 24-14. So they split. And then Odell's got a quality win over Dolo, 28-21. A big loss versus Prime, 28-7. And a big win versus Thule, 28-7. So it's kind of like, aside from the close game versus Dolo, he's either been kind of blowing people out. Because for me, I think 2 touchdowns is a blowout in my opinion. Unless it's a BS touchdown at the end, you can call it not a blowout, but definitely a convincing win. So we'll call it convincing wins. He's either got convincing wins or convincing losses, except for his game versus Dolo. So it's kind of interesting to see what's happening there. I think everyone should take note and go look at the box scores, or maybe even ask Prime what he did to beat Odell so handily. I'm kind of looking at the box right now, and it just looks like he tried to run too much. I mean, only 8 passes with Moon seems short. I mean, would you ever think that you could play Odell with Warren Moon and hold him to 4 for 8 for 36 yards? I mean, that's just 115 yards of offense. I mean, Moon can get that in 2 plays. The whole thing is kind of just interesting to me with that. It looks like he tried to run a little bit too much. I mean, it should be mentioned that Prime did recover a fumble and have 2 fourth down stops. So for what it's worth there. But it looks like it was a good Boomer day because, I mean, Prime was throwing the ball over the field. Prime's playing some strong Tecmo right now, man. He made it to the Super Bowl a couple of seasons ago, lost to Tecmo Bowl. But, he's habitually just been climbing the ladder here and becoming a really, really good online player. So if anyone has overlooked him or not given him enough credit for how well he's been doing, they should take notice because he's definitely doing some work.
No, I agree. And I mean, right now, granted, he has 10 games played, but leading the league in points scored, and Boomer Esiason's the top-rated passer in passing yards. You know what I mean? So he's rolling on all cylinders, and he has some quality wins that he's pulled out already. So props to him. And
the passer rating I'm definitely okay with mentioning. The passer yards, take it for the grain of salt because Prime habitually gets all his games in before everybody else, and like now, exactly. he has all 10 of his games in. So, not saying he won't end up leading the league in points and passing yards, but for now, we just have to make sure that everyone knows that it's because he has all his games in.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking at War Machine's boxes, I'll tell you, he's got a tough loss to the Rams. It looks like an overtime loss. He's got a tough loss. I mean, I can go into the box, but it looks like an overtime score. Tough loss to Diaz, and then he basically beat Eifer handily. He beat Washington handily, or not handily, barely, 15-7. That's an interesting score there. and then we already, he beat his first game versus Rico. He won. So I still think, you know what? I'm gonna go on a limb, and I know I said it in the preview show. I'm gonna say it here now. I still think this
Oh,
is.
looking at the box score, did he play Washington twice and beat them twice?
That's very possible. There's a quirk with the schedule that
It says Washington win at Washington 2010,
yeah, yeah.
win
How
at
funny
Washington.
how funny that he has Zer's number, and in the weird quirk of the schedule because of how the divisions are not even, where some divisions have
Mhm.
four, that he beat Washington twice, and literally Zer's three losses are to two of them are to War Machine and one is to Diaz. No, not Diaz. Can't be Diaz. Just gotta be War Machine. So how interesting that's the case. But yeah, it's a weird quirk of the schedule. I'm actually, for everyone who's listening, I'm going to be working with War Machine has pointed me in the correct direction to revamp our schedule to mimic the NFL from back in the 80s. So starting next season, I was going to put up a post, but I can announce it here first that thanks to War Machine's help, I'm going to be revamping our scheduling, and we're going to be doing it more based on what the NFL schedule was in the 80s and before they had buys than the way we've been doing it. So the schedule we are using has been passed down for seasons and seasons and seasons, but we are going to be changing it starting next season, just so everyone knows. So yeah, he did play Zer twice and beat him twice, which honestly are quality wins. I mean, I bet you I haven't looked at Brewdog's power rankings that he had, but I bet you that War Machine's way up there with his quality wins versus Zer. I don't know if you've looked on Discord, but I haven't looked yet to see it.
I haven't looked at all. I mean, you know me, I pop on for the podcast and chat with you a little bit, but I don't pay too much attention other than the website statistically and seeing, who's winning over who. But yeah, no, I saw that, and it's just funny because I mean, Zier probably would be a one-loss team right now, but he played War Machine twice and he beat him twice. So
True.
those two good wins for War Machine, but that's how it goes. Sometimes you just play well against certain people.
Yeah. So looking at Rico real quick while we're here, looking at his boxes, he lost to War Machine, lost to Odell, beat Odell. He beat Detroit twice, which is expected. Losing to Eifer 40-14. I gotta pull up that box. And then he lost to Nas, which is, no one should ever feel bad about losing to Nas. But losing to Eifer 40-14 is kind of mind-boggling to me. Looking at the box, Eifer had 11 rushes for 241 yards with Otis Anderson and had 360 yards of offense against Rico. Looks like it was just a bad passing day for Phil Simms. 2 interceptions, only a 33% completion percentage. He didn't run pretty much all game. I wonder if maybe Eifer had a significant tapping advantage. I know everyone probably usually taps better than Rico, but for the record, at Kumite in Detroit, I personally watched Rico out-tap Thule. I think whether Thule wasn't trying or whatever in the championship game or the semifinals. But anyway, it looks like it all came together for Eifer in that game because aside from the interceptions, I mean, Rico had a fumble recovery and a fourth down stop, so the turnover battle was kind of the same. So it's just time of possession was within a minute of each other. Kind of interesting to see Eifer, beat down Rico so badly, but that's the way it goes. So I definitely think will be, like we said in our preview show, that this will be a 2-team race between Odell and War Machine. I still think it's War Machine's division to lose, personally. I just think that, that's just my 2 cents. But do you have anything you want to add to the NFC Central before we go to the AFC West?
Nope, we can move to the West.
All right, so this is the division that is all sorts of shocking to me. So, I mean, you've got Gatz at 3-3. He's having a rough go of it, playing 500 ball, point differential, 500 ball. You got Tadeos at 4-4, playing 500 ball. Now, Tadeos has been pretty vocal on Discord saying he's basically lost every game where Bailey got hurt. I feel his pain. I had Bo Jackson in season 40. Bo Jackson got hurt 3 games, I think, in season 40, plus my playoff game against Stalltalk in the first drive. I still only lost to Stall by 3 points, but I know it's tough to move the ball with only a 31 minutes back. And then you're stuck with Billy Joe Tolliver, who, if you don't have a good running back, it's going to be scary. I think I'm not surprised by how well Randy Wags is playing. He's a good player. He's been showing it for season after season. He had like one bad season in the East when he had a bad team. He just won the Lincoln tourney that Matt Kenobi puts on, the founder of T-Borg. And so, I mean, I'm not surprised by Randy. I'm more surprised at Gatz and Tadeos. And then Drake, too. I really thought that Drake would hang this season after what he did in the very, very competitive NFC West last season. But it just seems like it's a season to not remember. His differential is alarming.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I mean,
I'm not going to go in and look at his differential. I'm more going to kind of look at the boxes of Gatz and Tadeos here. Big surprise, though. Game high. Well done. Over 500, 5 games in. That's amazing to see. It's been a while since he was not towards the bottom of the division. I want to give him a round of applause. Great going, buddy. It's I hope you can keep it going. So let's take a look at Randy Wags and see what he's got going on in his boxes. He did just lose a game, it looks like. So he lost to Tadeos 24-21. But he beat Nas. He beat Rob handily. He beat Tech Mobo. He beat Drake handily. He beat Kevin Tadeos. But he lost to Drake. So Drake's one win looks like an overtime win versus Randy Wags. I wonder if that's going to come back and bite him in the end there. Because, that's definitely a game he should have, based on the record, should have won. I'm actually going to go in that box. I kind of want to see what happened here and see if this looks like Drake, had a strong game with Jim McMahon, of all people. And
how much did he ask for?
3 of 4 for 143 and a touchdown. But I'll tell you though, with no run game to speak of, 12 carries, 31 yards with Hilliard, between his two QBs, Randy was 9 of 10 for 236 yards and 2 touchdowns. If you would have told me Randy, with really no run game, would have gone 9 of 10, 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, there's no way I would say he wouldn't win. They both had a fourth down stop, so it's a turnover each. It was definitely an overtime game because the time of possession doesn't add up. So my guess is it was a back and forth game. No one really got any stops except for those fourth down stops. And my guess is Drake just got the ball in overtime and scored. And that's really what happened here. So
that's crazy.
Not much you can do about that, but that's a big win for Drake and playing spoiler in that division. So we'll look at Tadeos first. See what's going on with his box scores. So he beat Randy. He beat Game High. He beat Gatz. He beat Drake. Lost to Game High. Big win for Game High against Tadeos. I bet you Bailey got hurt in that game. Lost to Randy Wags. Lost convincingly to Prime, but I know Bailey got hurt in that game. And then lost to Pitt, and I know Bailey got hurt in that game. So let's kind of look at the box scores of when Bailey got hurt, because that's more interesting to see. And as you can see, I mean, to be honest with you, James Wilder, 31 MS, and Goody's 38, I believe, or maybe, and, he was in good in this game. I would say that, rushing for 7 yards a carry with Wilder is great. He didn't throw any picks with BJ, and BJ was an excellent anyway. I mean, looking at the box, I know Barry Sanders must have been tough to stop, but I don't know. I don't know. Just looking at the box score, not seeing the game, having the time of possession advantage, Tundra only having one fourth down stop, it just, to me, seems like a winnable game for Tadeos. But I mean, that's not being involved in it and not seeing it, not knowing. So, but just for what it's worth, it just looks like a winnable game to me. But what do you think?
Look at the two. I mean, he's had a couple close games. I mean, it was a 3-point loss to Game High at San Diego. His win against Denver was a 3-point win. His win against San Diego was a 6-point win. Those are close games, but look at who's on the schedule: Buffalo and New Orleans. So the schedule is going to be tough going forward. Kevin already, said how your team's going to be tough to play against. And after watching, and I actually did, it was one of the few games I actually watched when he played Game High. Game High was just seeing it all over people. You see seeing it over Haddix. So I don't know what was going on there, but your team's kind of like that, and then obviously Nos is Nos, so the schedule isn't getting any easier for Kevin when he starts to play some people coming up, and I don't know what the rest of the schedule looks like, but you're looking probably maybe. I mean, if he comes away with 2 wins out of that, that's impressive. Um, I would say it's either going to be a split or possibly another 2 losses, especially if Bailey gets hurt.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'll tell you, I'm hoping Bailey gets hurt against me. I actually answered them after getting home from Nashville at like 5 o'clock in the morning for my very delayed flight and the weather issues they had in the South in the early part of last week. And I'll tell you that he was asking me the percentages of someone an excellent and Haddix an excellent and whatever, and I actually posted them for him. So I guess Haddix was an excellent. I guess maybe Jerry Rice was an excellent. And it was just one of those, or someone was an excellent. It was just one of those situations where it's kind of like when the unstoppable force meets the immovable object. Who's going to win. So I would say that I would say I don't know what's going to happen, but with so many teams lurking around 500, I think you have to go 10-6 in the AFC this season. I mean, right now, just looking at it right now. With so many teams around 500, I would say that some people are going to pull away, and you're going to have to go 10-6 in the AFC East or AFC to make the playoffs this season. That's just my early guess. Don't know for sure, but I just think that if he loses 2 more games quickly here, he's in trouble. That's just my.
yeah. This is a tough division. It's because Randy Wags is a solid player all around. Kevin's a solid player. Gats, he's obviously an elite player. But Game High's offense, just like we mentioned, I mean, when you're coverage catching it on Wayne Haddix, I mean, what can you really do? I mean, Mark Carrier, that's about the only other guy, in the game with higher interception than Wayne Haddix. So there's not much you could do when those things go into effect. So I like I said, I think Randy, I think he's gonna hold on. The question mark is really Gats or Kevin. I mean, I think I know we spoke about how there'll be 3 people, and I know that was a lot of predictions out of the West. Right now, I feel like the window's closing a little bit, especially with Tundretti having the tiebreaker over Kevin, because if he keeps rattling off wins and say Kevin's 10-6 and Tundretti's 10-6, he's going to win the tiebreaker because he beat the Raiders because Bailey went down. So, that's all stuff that's going to have to come into play. But I think Randy Wags will be good. And then I think between Kevin and Gats, I only feel like 2 people now will possibly come out of the West. I think like I said, I think Sean will be good in the Central, and I think Bo will probably step up, and then Diaz. But I mean, like right now, Hawk is rolling, and he has Bo Jackson. So if he can keep that going, he might be a wild card team. So, but as far as the West goes, right now, Kevin, tough losses, losing Bailey, that stinks. But sometimes you gotta roll the punches. You gotta somehow find ways to win those games. That's what makes the difference in making the playoffs or not. So it'll be interesting down the stretch. But the AFC West right now, it's like a pile up, a 5-card pile up, because you got Tadeo's, Gats, Game High, Randy Wags. They're all fighting. So we'll see what happens in the end.
Sure. I would say I'm looking at Gats box scores now, and he is, he's got a loss to Kevin. He's got a loss to Game High. That's a big loss. And a loss to Nas, but you can't complain. I'm curious what happened with his game against Game High. So I'm looking at that right now. 350 yards of offense. It just looks like, honestly, it looks like Gats had his way. It was fumbles. Gats fumbled twice, and that was the difference in the game. And it was one of those, when you've got Dexter Carter and excellence, so you got a 56 MS running back, and you've got, QB Bills, DePage, and whatever. It just looks like one of those games where it just kind of got out of hand there with the fumbles. So I don't think Gats is out of it. This team, honestly, is built for Gats. Aside from the defense, it's just Deion Sanders. And we said this in our preview show. it's the Deion Sanders show, and if Deion doesn't get it done, what's going to happen? So maybe that's what's happening here, but I'm not sure. I think it's foolish to count Gats out. It's going to be interesting though because Gats actually just recently said on Discord after Tuesday he is not playing any more HSTL games to prepare for Madison. So maybe the rest of Gats' season will be determined on how he does at Madison and how hungry he is or what have you. And that can go for anybody, honestly. So.
Yep. Exactly.
So, all right, going to I gotta, my computer's not responding to me. Here we go. Going to so first things first, I'm going to say about the NFC West. It's hard to look at the NFC West and not see a complete dogfight between four people. The NFC West has habitually just been so strong with, Rockman being out there with Prime and Nas. And then obviously Drake put up a huge fight last season. It's kind of sad to see that go away and where it's just a two-man show. Rob had a great season last season, sneaked into the playoffs, did some work. And it's just a shame to see Barletti and Rob not being very competitive in this division. So, I think our prediction stood. Both Prime and Nas are going to make the playoffs. Even though Prime has 2 more losses than Nas, I still think it's up for grabs of who wins the division. I know we all pick Prime. I'm going to look at his boxes right now to see if he played Nas. So it looks like he lost to Nas and hasn't played Nas again. So he lost to Nas, Turbo, and Dolo, and he's beaten everybody else. So it's really going to come down to if Nas sweeps Prime, Nas is going to win the division. If Prime gets him back, then I think it's kind of up for grabs. So yeah. I think it's really all you really need to say about that. This division is pretty self-explanatory. Both those guys are getting into the playoffs. I don't think there's any question about that. It's just a matter of who's going to win the division, to be honest. And and looking at the records, one of those guys could be vying for the number 1 overall seed, or at least the 2nd seed. So just looking at Nas's boxes real quick, looks like his only loss is the Randy Wags. No shame there, and he's got some wins. He's beat Drake, beat Prime, beat Rob, beat Gats, and beat Rico. His win over Rob though was only 23-17, which looks like an overtime box. So.
Mm-hmm. But his only loss was 3 points. You know what I mean? That's really impressive.
I gotta look at his team leaderboard, man, because I was convinced that he would shit the bed, pardon my language, with Chris Miller. But dude, his passer rating with Chris Miller is 138.5. So literally all our concerns with Nas using a 31 PS QB right out the window, just completely out the window. Mm-hmm. After seeing what Nas did to kind of run the table when he had Billy Joe Tolliver, after really kind of not figuring it out right away, honestly, he is just on some kind of online roll, and I applaud him. Plus, he just won that live tournament down south as well. So this division is a race between Prime and Nas. No shocker there. So I want to take this opportunity while you try to get Sean on the phone or on Discord with us here to go through the AFC's boxes and kind of see what's been happening. Can you do that? Can you multitask while we're doing that?
Yeah, what would you like me to do?
Get Sean on the phone. Just see if we
can. Did you open it up?
I'll open it up when he's ready. So just let me know.
Okay.
So while you're doing that, I'm just gonna kind of look at the boxes and see what's going on with Diaz, Hawk, and Thule and such. So it looks like wow. I don't know if you looked at this, Matt, but Diaz beat Big Red 6-3. Literally, it was a 6-3 game. That is unbelievable to me. I don't know how he had a game versus Washington. That seems like a big mistake because we're playing.
All right, yeah, you could open up the chat. He said he's ready. So.
All right, cool. I'll open it up. So we'll continue the AFC East in a second. We're gonna welcome Stalltalk on to talk about last season. It's open there, Matt, if he's ready. So maybe he can kind of just let me just start talking when he's in. Oh, he's in. Oh, his mic is muted. You want to text him that his mic is muted. That's what's showing up there. So while he's figuring that out, I'm just going to continue what I'm saying here. Oh, there you go. Now he's unmuted. Sean, are you there, buddy? No, he's muted again. Try talking now, Sean. Well, until he gets it figured out, going back to what I was saying, it must have been one of those schedule quirks because there's no reason why, unless I messed up, there's no reason why Diaz should have played Zur. So he told me he played Zur, and I thought it was a mistake, but he did, and he actually beat Zur. So I was right. Zur's 3 losses, Matt, are 2 against War Machine and 1 against Diaz.
Hello.
There he is. Sean, also known more commonly known as Stalltalk. Welcome to the Hoff and Dynasty show.
Thanks for having me.
So I don't know how much time you have, but why don't we just get right into it and congratulations.
I got plenty of time. Don't worry.
Oh, good. So we were just kind of going through and doing a status check on the season. So before we start talking about your season 43 win, why don't you talk about how this season's been going for you? You're 5-1.
Oh man,
you're 5-1. Go ahead, buddy.
A lot of time. Probably should have lost some of them, but came out with some wins. A lot of weird games too. Game against Tundra. He had a safety that was blocked in the end zone or whatever. So those are always tough. I had 2 kick returns in that game, so didn't really feel like I won that because I didn't have the ball much, but got some wins. I've been throwing it a lot because last year I didn't have a good wide receiver, so I've been tucking it deep. So watch out.
Yeah, this season you've got a lot of receptions on your team. You got Jim Everett, and then you have a mix of Curtis Duncan, Anthony Carter, and Richard Johnson. My favorite, Dick, the slower, not smaller, but pun intended. You see what's on my brain? The slower Dick. But I will say though, Stall, have you had any problems having Leroy Urban and Steve Atwater in your secondary? Like, has anyone really abused you because of your low interceptions at those 2 positions?
Yeah, my defense has been off a little. I don't like complaining about conditions and stuff, but Lee has been in bad almost the entire season. 6 games in, 4th quarter he's been in bad the whole season, and 2nd and 3rd quarter it's been the same too. So it's weird. Reasons had a big interception against Tecmo Bow to kind of win that game. So the defense definitely needs to be better, I think. But yeah, a lot of close games.
Yeah, looking at your box scores here, it kind of looks like every one of your games, except for your game versus Tundra, which you just kind of explained why it was over a 2-score game. It could have gone either way. I mean, you basically you lost by 3 points to Turbo. You won by 3 points versus Rockman. You won by 3 points versus Bone, which shot. I mean, you should be ashamed that you only beat Bone by 3 points. But and then you beat Tecmo Bow by a touchdown, and you beat Dolo, big win by a touchdown. Which I tried to stream that game for you guys with commentary, but you didn't want it up, so whatever.
I didn't record it, so I don't know. Speaking of that Bone game, I was losing that game, and speaking of Richard Johnson, I went for it on 4th down because my kicker bad, and I threw a ridiculous pass on 4th and 10 to Richard Johnson, and he caught it to seal the game. So I should have lost that game.
Was there any music when he caught the ball though?
What? Not this time. But Johnson really makes some impossible catches that he always makes. So that was definitely a steal. I think anyone's got to take him if they see him on the board. So I got real lucky.
I'm a huge fan of the slower Dick, simply because I just feel like, throwing it deep to him, might be a little bit tough. but he's always slower than defenders. So I think you have a better JJ opportunity if you can wait for him to get down there. Obviously the 75 receptions always helps. So I mean, I would never take him unless I had a high PC QB. But I would say that I had the Rams DL kicker punter last season, and it made me not want to kick field goals because I suck at field goals already. But having him is even worse. So I will tell you that, like, I mean, getting your defense, man, is kind of a dumpster fire aside from Lee and Merriweather. I mean, I know you've got Reasons, the nickelback. You kind of can use Merriweather or Reasons as nickels, but other than those three, your defense is one big dumpster fire, man.
I think Lee is usable, I think, for me. I like Darryl Green, so he's a much slower version of him, but I think obviously when he goes into bat, it's not very he goes 56-44, so that's not the greatest, and just gotta watch that.
Yeah, just to clarify, in bad, Carl Lee goes 31 RS, 44 RP, and 56 MS, which is obviously no bueno. It's one of those. It's one of those just slow enough to suck people. Have you had any problems with your offensive line having 2 38 HP guys on there? Are people breaking through and causing havoc in the backfield, or has it been kind of smooth sailing for you?
Yeah, they are breaking through. I had them last year. You kind of get used to it. I made some mistakes against the Browns and got sacked. But usually I'm pretty used to it. My WTF league, my line is pretty bad. So usually you just have to make one move and they take themselves out of the play. So you just got to get used to it. I usually try to stay away from the Tampa Bay line because everyone makes such a big deal about it. But maybe I'll try them next year.
Oh boy. Well, good luck. Good luck with that, buddy. I mean, at least you'll get more value elsewhere.
Robbins on the team.
I gotta tell you though, man, if you had lost the bone, I probably would have been just taking this whole time and roasting you instead of congratulating you on your win last season. So, but that you because you beat Bone, we can let it go.
I mean, at least he has a game in.
True. So, hey now. I gave myself a demerit. I'm gonna hit the next deadline unless people try to screw me. We're gonna get some games in tonight and tomorrow. I think I'm actually playing Tedeos at around 10 o'clock tonight. So
okay,
and I'm gonna play Tundra tonight too. So hopefully that'll be a big win for me to help you out in your division. So looking at your division before we go on to last season, do you have any concerns? I mean, obviously there's not a lot of games in. I mean, you've got Tecmo Bow and Rockman both at 2-2. As I kind of said before you came on, Tundra I think is a huge surprise at 4-4 with what he did last season in the NFC East. Are you concerned at all, or you think you pretty much it's going to be cruise control for you the rest of the season to wrap up your division?
No, I think Tecmo Bow will be right in there. Rockman pretty much roasted me with Marino. He threw, I don't know, close to 300 yards probably. So that was troubling because, he did that. But I came out with the win anyway. So, I mean, the offense is doing fine for me right now. Tundra, I played him one other time. So I wasn't really familiar with him. And he played really well in the first half. But I made a stop and then scored there. And then right before half is when he got safetied. So I got he never actually punted it because there were 0 seconds left. But I got the ball right after that and returned it for a touchdown. So that was a big swing. So tough division. I think Tecmo Bow will he'll pile up wins. Well, I did beat him earlier in the season. So that was usually you just try to split with players like that. So I'm already ahead of the ball there. So, yeah.
Well, so let's move on now to your big win last season. I mean, the first question I have to ask you from that Super Bowl game is, what the hell were you thinking throwing that interception at the end of the game to give Dolo life to try to come back and tie, or win or tie that game? I don't remember if it would have won if he had scored or not, but I mean, that was probably like the worst play I think I've ever seen you make.
Definitely, when he fumbled there at the end, I definitely sagged a little, relaxed. It was a missed tap. I was trying to throw to the tight end, and I threw deep there, so obviously a mistake. But that made it a little interesting. That that sometimes happens to me, where I kind of let up and they come right back in. So you gotta watch that when you're playing Tecmo. Never
Sure.
take the foot off the gas.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I've actually been accused of running up the score for not taking the foot off the gas. So, you know, I've actually been pretty vocal about it with people when I feel that people are wrongly offended. But regardless, that was a fantastic win for you. Did you have? I mean, did the game go the way you thought it would go? Were you concerned? Did you actually think you were going to win? Did you think you were a long shot to win? Like, what were you thinking going into that game versus, you know, an accomplished player like Dolo?
Um, at first I thought I was going to have trouble running the ball because of LT, but I saw him. He had him at linebacker too, so I kind of knew I was going to be able to run the ball more than I was expecting. So I kind of was expecting to win. I don't know, just after Thunderdome, things have just been seeming to going my way. So run one was working pretty well to start the game. So I just kept going with it. And Moon made that pass to Kemp at the end on 4th down or 3rd down, just kind of seal it. So definitely Dolo, his offense is so hard to stop. I played him this season too again, and my defense got roasted again. But
Sure, totally understand. Well, is there anything you, Matt, you want to ask about the Super Bowl, or anything you want to add, Sean, before we move on to your huge Thunderdome win?
What made you draft Jim Everett?
it was definitely between Sims and Everett. I went with Everett just because I don't really know why. I think the increased pass speed, I kind of like that. I do have, my bits memory has decayed a little, and I forgot my bad seasons with Everett. So yeah, I went with Everett.
That's cool. How you liking him so far compared to Moon?
He's been great. Just the one game against Dolo where we had to replay it, I had a little trouble, but he's been really good. Yeah.
That's cool. When you were in the playoffs last season, who do you think your hardest matchup was in the playoffs?
That's a good question. I think Big Red was my toughest matchup. The Montana bombs were just hitting, so I couldn't really do much. I got some pass knockdowns, I think, on 4th down. That kind of sealed it. I think if he would have played it, I don't know. He had 2 4th down stops. So maybe if he punted and something went his way, but definitely that was the tightest game. The championship game against Bo, he fumbled at the end, which kind of put him out of reach there. So definitely the divisional series against, I think, the Broncos was the toughest.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, congratulations, man. I picked you. But yeah, we could go over his Thunderdome win if you want, Hoff.
Sure. So obviously, Sean, you're on quite a roll here online. You know, you right before you won the season 43 HSTL Championship, you had a big, I don't know what Thunderdome, was it Thunderdome 10 or 11 or 12? I'm not sure. But the fantastic online tournament run by War Machine, who did another fantastic job again running it. You had a big win versus Rico. You swept Rico. How did that go? Like, it looked like it, you know, where you thought it would be more competitive. Or were you really, you know, once you made it to the championship and you saw who your opponent was, did you think that you were going to win handily, or what were your thoughts going into your Thunderdome?
When Rico was the Browns, I think, in HSTL, kind of had a tough time playing him. He's very grindy, plays very well. so I wasn't really sure at that point. But I was on pretty good roll there, so I kind of was expecting to win. Matt gave me some good pep talks, so I think that was around Christmas, so everyone was feeling jolly. So it was a good time. Thanks for the bounty on your head. Christmas present.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me, Dick. I think it should be noted here that I think you made by far the most money off bounties throughout the whole tournament.
Every victory is a bounty on some head, so that was nice.
So well done. I kind of think you, obviously you were going into that coming off a very poor season in HSTL. So I just think almost that you were overlooked as an opponent in that tournament, to be frank. Because, you just come off a bad season in HSTL where you had a crappy quarterback because you were one of the people who didn't like our combining quarterback 1 and 2 together. So there were crappy quarterbacks, which, by the way, I'm still kind of shocked that you had such a bad season. I almost feel like you tanked it a little bit to get a better draft pick once you were having a bad season, but we don't have to go there. I definitely
think the worst thing about HSTL kind of helped me there. The round 0, I did move up a couple spots because of that stupid round 0 crap. So that definitely helped me there. I wouldn't call 6 and 10 really tanking. I had a bad season, a lot of close games in that one too. I kind of really wanted to run it back with that team because it was a weird looking team with lots of speed at wide receiver, and I just couldn't get some breaks to go my way. I think you took me down on the last play of the game one of those times. Definitely a tough season, but it worked out, I guess.
Yeah, definitely true. So you hit it here first that Sean is not pro round 0. But anyway, yeah, so I think you overlooked, and I just think that you just kind of opened everyone's eyes about how good you really are by just, really just you just plowed through with Thunderdome, so very well done there.
Thanks.
And then obviously, was it kind of cool to have your games like shown again in front of thousands and thousands of viewers on Facebook by Dave Murray? How'd that feel?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Some of my Facebook friends just, I guess, saw that I was watching it or whatever, so they were in there too, and a lot of people saying how bad we were. That was interesting. But yeah, the commentary was fun. That was a great job from Dave to get that on there. And War Machine it was a fun tournament. A lot of production value and stuff, so that was great.
I actually have a funny story for both Hoff and Sean. So like a month ago, and Sean and I met him. I requested Stephen Baker, the receiver for the Giants, on Facebook. And he was actually sharing the stream when Sean was playing. So he probably, because we met him, like, I don't even know, what was it, like 4 or 5 years ago, Sean?
Yeah.
He probably didn't even realize, like, Sean was a person that he met, like, 5 years ago. But he was like, oh, man, yeah, I remember this game. Like, he was sharing on Facebook and stuff, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
That's great. That's really funny. Well, nice job on your win in Thunderdome. Fantastic job on your win in HSTL. Looks like you're well on your way to another strong season in HSTL. I assume you're going to Madison, correct?
I will not be going to Madison.
Wow, that's a big shame, man. I was hoping to meet you out there. I'll be there. My first Madison. I'm making this the year of traveling to Tecmo tournaments.
Maybe some Northeast tournaments for you.
Oh yeah, I've already talked about it with Matt, and I'll be definitely coming out to the Northeast tournaments this year. So I'm excited for that.
All right, good.
But is there any closing remarks you want to add before Matt and I kick you off here and wrap this up?
No, just a good podcast. Fun to listen to. Yeah.
Well, thank you, sir. Thanks for coming on, and congratulations again. And we'll talk to you soon. And good luck the rest of your season. And if I play you, if I play, well, there is no rest of the way for me because I haven't started yet. But I would say if you play me, please throw the game. But all right,
thanks, guys.
You got it.
All right, Steve.
So anyway, Matt, let's finish up this. We've kind of lost everybody here. And, as always, we go a little longer than we're doing. But I would say let's kind of go through the AFC East real quick here and the box scores of Hawk, and then we can kind of just wrap this up here and do this again whenever you want. So looking at Hawk's team, I mean, we already talked about it. His boxes. He lost to Diaz. That's his one loss. He beat Eifer in an overtime game, it looks like. He beat Thule handily, and he beat Big Red by 2 scores. So I'm just going to look at his leaderboard real quick. I bet you it is definitely the Bo Jackson show. Although I'll tell you, Steve Walsh, man. Oh, Steve Walsh isn't his primary passer. He's using Pagel. So I don't know what Pagel's... Oh, I mean, Pagel's got a 131 rating with 31 PC. So that's what Bo Jackson will do for you. So great job there. Let's see how Bo's doing. Under 10 yards of carry for Bo. I think when I had Bo, I actually set the record for him. I think it was 17 yards of carry. So, but it's definitely the Bo Jackson show. This whole season is going to be boiled down to if he can make... I think, and we already talked about this in our preview, but I'll say it again. If he can make teams pay for guessing run, whether he just runs through it anyway, or if he, he can do whatever. His secondary, his defense is okay. He's got some good players on his defense, some speed. So we'll see. I do want to go and look at this and look at Thule and Diaz's boxes real quick. We'll do Thule first. We can skip Big Red just because he is 0-4 and that's fine. Plus, we're going to be mentioning him against when he played Diaz. It looks like we already talked about Thule getting thrashed by Odell. He thrashed Big Red. He beat Detroit by 2 scores, and he beat Diaz. So, and then lost to Diaz. So he split with Diaz. So, I mean, like you kind of said, Thule can turn on whenever. And then looking at, so I really want to focus real quick on the Diaz box score where he beat Big Red 6-3. The rest of his scores, you can kind of see them. It's Diaz having a Diaz season, but I gotta take a look at this 6-3 box. This is just crazy. It just looks like it was one of those games where they're throwing rocks at each other, man. I mean, Wade Wilson 3-15. That's a typical whiskey game that when he's not on, basically anyone who's not named Zur using Wade can have a game like that. James Brooks in bad, 5 yards of carry. What are you gonna do? Thurman Thomas. This is huge. Someone should actually see if this is a record. Thurman Thomas, 11 carries, minus 14 yards.
Wow.
I don't think that. I didn't even know that was. I gotta be honest. I didn't know that was possible. I didn't even know a 63 MS running back could go 11 carries, minus 14 yards, and he was an average. So it's not like he was in bad. I am shell shocked. I mean, kudos to Diaz honestly for pulling out a win with Troy LVP Aikman going 11-17 while throwing a pick. So I would say he lost the time of possession battle. It was a rock fight. But it's going to be an interesting season. I can't wait to get involved here. Hopefully I can not waste having QB Browns and on my team paired with Flipper. It's definitely going to be the QB Browns and Flipper show. As we already talked about in our preview, my team has very little defense. Hopefully I can put it together a little bit. But I think that's pretty much it. So we're going to be doing these regularly, aren't we, Matt? But I don't know what we might not be always be talking about HSTL, depending on how much changes. We'll definitely do another review of HSTL with playoff predictions, maybe of seeing who's in the bubble, whatever. So I would guess, probably at some point next week when more games have been played and more ROMs have been dropped, that we could probably start talking about playoffs and seeing who's in, who's in the bubble, who's out, and what have you. And then, and if we don't do a pod before then, that'll be our next one. If we do a pod before then, we can maybe talk about the Madison groups. I haven't had the chance to watch the video yet. I know
that'd actually be pretty cool if we could do that.
Yeah, I know you've got a lot. I mean, that is definitely going to be run by you more than me. I've never been. I don't know most of the players. I know Lewis Redset Hut has been doing his own previews, but it'd be interesting to see from you, who's kind of like such a live tournament veteran, to see what you think of the groupings for the people you might know, may not know, or what have you. I know kudos to Dave Murray and QB Browns, which I think it's QB Browns is his handle. on how much work they put into the seeding and the tournament itself. But I think you would it'd be interesting to hear your feedback. So I'm guessing our next pod will probably be a Madison pod talking about Madison. The pod after that likely will be the playoff bubble pod unless there's not enough games in. And then we'll definitely have a pod after Madison to recap how it went. Assuming I lose early like usual, you guys will definitely hear me announcing a couple games at Madison, which I'm excited about to do that. And that's pretty much all I have for now. Once again, sorry for being absent, guys, but I'm back. I'm better than ever, and I'm ready to start rolling in this season and not get another demerit, because if I get another demerit, I don't know if I'm going to be able to playoff eligible, because I'm not really
myself out.
honestly, I'm not really sure I'll be able to get a gold star after that. So anything you want to add, Matt, before we get out of here?
Nah, nothing. I'm enjoying doing this with you, so I think it would be cool to do. That was actually a good idea that you just had, doing the Madison and then doing the playoff prediction. So that'll be fun. Now you mentioned Lewis does the predictions. Does he have a podcast for that? Is he doing?
No, he's doing write ups. So I'm not saying he does.
Cool.
He just is right now. I just know he's been posting some. So that's pretty much what's going on with that.
Yeah, Lewis is detailed too, so that's probably interesting to read.
Yeah, so maybe we'll read that before we get into it. I'll watch the Madison seeding the group video that Dave Murray made before that. We might be able to, I'm in talks with Dave to get the HSTL Super Bowl streamed on the Tecmo Super Bowl Facebook page with my commentary. So we're going to do the YouTube video of my commentary I already did, with Dave and I doing a live back and forth ahead of the game. Hoping to do that. We were supposed to do it last weekend, but unfortunately, Nashville took over my life. I was at a bachelor party, and I was, basically chaperoning 15 drunk dudes. So, but with that being said, Matt, as always, thank you, buddy. Love doing this with you, and we're gonna do our exit music here, and can't wait to see you on here again, man.
All right, sounds good, man.
All right,
Talk
cool.
to you soon.
Talk to you soon for sure.